Delivering clear, concise, and entertaining content on demand, this is SharperTalkMedia.com. Join the community. Welcome to Higher Up, the podcast designed to help you take your business to a higher level.
Get the latest news and updates on everything human resources.
Unlock the occupational DNA so you can identify, select, develop, and retain top talent.
And now your host, John Beck.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the first episode of 2018. Yes, the Higher Up podcast. And that's right, this is John Beck, your host. We have a fantastic lineup of guests that will be piling through, whether it be remote or through our studios here at Sharper Talk Studios. Our first guest of 2018 has extensive background in leading technology companies through periods of high growth and has also held key corporate strategy and financial roles at Fortune 500 companies. As a former president of Apparatus, he has led the company through a $34.2 million acquisition and publicly traded and globally. Recognizing the need for a method of boosting recruiting productivity, he and his team launched an organization called Canvas, the first enterprise-grade text-based interviewing platform that enables recruiters to screen more job candidates and market employment brands. Companies use the Canvas platform to screen and engage thousands of candidates across a variety of industries for positions ranging from machinists, welders, to software engineers, sales professionals, physical therapists, nurses, and more. Canvas's clients span from startups to Fortune 500 companies located in Silicon Valley and all the way to the Midwest. Our guest today, our first guest of 2018, Aman Barr. Welcome to the show.
Really excited to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
Well, I can tell you, Aman, I have had an opportunity to dive into what you guys do, and I am fascinated, and I am so excited to deliver this type of content and information to our HR followers, the listeners of the Higher Up podcast. I think that it's what we're all about here at Higher Up, and that is taking business to a higher level. Certainly the information I believe that you're going to share with us today is right down the beaten path of what we're looking for. So before we've covered your bio, which is extensive, but what's going on right now in the life of Aman? Tell us a little bit about what's happening right now, going on in your life, and what your big focus is, and then we're going to jump right into this interview.
Well, I think like many folks in leadership at a company, I'm in that constantly navigating the taking care of the business, taking care of the family, and taking care of self, right? So I think that's one of the things I'm always working on. And it's hard to do all three of those right. So I think some days, I'm trying to find ways to make sure I'm taking care of myself through this process. So that's been a big focus of mine in 2018. I got a wonderful 8.5-year-old son, beautiful wife, 16 years,
right?
A lot of fun together, and a really exciting business with Canvas. So I've been trying to make sure I get those steps in, if you know what I'm saying, on the old Apple Watch. So so that's
I absolutely can understand that. I turned 50 last year, and I went through that same process. It was looking at business, looking at life, looking at family, and looking at self. And I actually went through a little transformation myself. I lost 35 pounds in 2017. So
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It really has changed my whole feeling about where I am. So it's helped me in many ways. Let's jump right in. So we're talking about text messaging pre-screen interviewing. Is that our topic today, Aman?
Yeah, among certainly other things that you can do with text, but you're right. We launched in June as the world's first text-based interviewing platform, and it's been a wild ride since.
Wow. Well, let's go right in. So what type of organizations, who are the organizations turning to text messaging to recruit talent? Tell me a little bit about what type of companies are doing that.
Sure. Yeah. So, by background, I've been in the technology space my entire career. My co-founders and I and many of the leaders here at Canvas recently scaled a cloud computing management company called Apparatus, from a local firm to regional, national, and ultimately global after an acquisition. So we found ourselves going from being responsible for 50 people to 1,500 in just a short number of years. And Canvas is really the product that we wished, we had. Now, I give you that context because certainly the majority of our hiring was for technology professionals, and we really saw how we could meet the needs of both the candidate and the company by thinking about recruitment differently. Now, what's been fascinating for us since launching in June is, our first client was a manufacturing client.
Right.
We've technology clients, but today we have companies connecting with everything from machinists and welders and process engineers to, mortgage specialists to sales professionals, software engineers, technologists, nurses, physicians, physical therapists, and even pilots with major airlines. So I think what's been amazing for me and for the company to experience is just the number of use cases that have been brought to the table by folks that are just so kind of curious and interested into how this can help with their talent game. So that I thought I'd share kind of the roots of thinking about technology recruitment and really just the market's really taken it in many directions as far as where it can be efficacious.
I would say, and I don't know the statistics. I'm sure we could Google and find that out, but it must be an astonishing number of people who are walking around with smartphones in their pocket nowadays, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know anyone personally that doesn't have one. I mean, from my 70-year-old father to my 7-year-old nephew. I mean, everybody's walking around with it, and so it's just become part of the culture, part of life. How easy is it, and how often do I just personally pick up the phone to send a text? And I really like the opportunity. From a business perspective, I have found lately, and this is just something that's happened for me in the last year, which I can relate definitely to the topic today. I started reaching out to some of my clients on casual or lighter text messaging in terms of just talking about a little business from time to time, and the response is usually instant.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I could email them and hear back from them in 2 or 3 days, or I'll, leave a voicemail and hear back in a couple of days, or whatever the case may be. But I'm talking about topic level executives that have shared their cell phone information with me, and I'll shoot them a little text in business, and boom, I get a response. I mean, no doubt, quick, fast, and it's almost happening all the time. And so they're now reaching out to me when they have a need or a question, boom, hitting me up. And it didn't dawn on me till I started really looking into what you guys do at Canvas that this is happening, and it's happening in business, but what a great opportunity to bring it to the recruitment side. So when we talk about machine learning, that's a new term for me, machine learning and recruiting. Tell me what we're talking about when we talk about machine learning and recruiting.
Well, every company's got their approach and the way they want to think about incorporating machine learning and AI-oriented technologies. And, where Canvas is really focused is, how do we use bleeding edge technology to really enable recruiters and create these magical moments for them as they work to do their job. So we're really focused on that technology working side by side the recruiter to make that recruiter work more efficiently, effectively, et cetera. And so, machine learning, right? And one way to really think about it is it's a continuous learning engine. So, we can do some really fascinating things already where if someone, asks a question of a recruiter, we through our data might be able to articulate the best answer for the recruiter to provide to that candidate, et cetera. So, that's really kind of our focus. We can certainly do automated screening, leveraging machine learning, and I think one of the features I'm most proud of is we can de-identify. So imagine now you're having this text screen or text conversation. We can share that with a hiring manager and push one button and de-identify that candidate as well as the transcript, as well as the resume of gender, race, nationality, religion, et cetera. And so when you really start thinking about the power of using technology to make a difference, that's really where we're focused. We're less focused, I think, on a world right now where all of a sudden, everybody is engaging with a robot to find their next opportunity. I think we're really thinking about the world kind of working in coordination, kind of thinking about Canvas as a coaching engine for recruiters. And so this might provide a little bit of perspective about what we think about machine learning and AI right now.
certainly organizations are starting to do some video conference recruiting and interviewing, things of that nature. I would question the ability to go in an unbiased situation from a text perspective, just that unbiased process. How's text interviewing helping to mitigate these types of problems?
Yeah, and I think mitigate's the best word for it. I think anybody that's using words like eradicate bias is probably not thinking deeply enough about the problem. But I do think that, there are opportunities to give, more people a chance to get on base with an interview. So if you think about if you decided to use these features in Canvas, a recruiter could de-identify the candidate. They can de-identify the transcript of the conversation. They can de-identify the resume. And now imagine, John, that you've received this email that says, gives you all this pertinent information about the candidate, but you don't know if it's Amy Brown or Amin Barar, right?
Right.
Now, might you make a less biased decision about whether this person has a shot at an interview? I think the answer is yes to that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we're really trying to make a dent right now in how our de-identification technology can really help move the needle. I can tell you that you know the trends in the industry better than I, but just the focus on diversity and inclusion strategies with enterprise clients, the demand for our technology with regard to this, we're just super excited given how new it is and how recently we've put it on the market.
I was sitting down with a large organization just yesterday in a boardroom presenting to their HR team. I had the vice president of HR in his group, and they have 200 locations nationwide. Big financial organization. One of the challenges that they were having is that each location, each manager is responsible for hiring, even though HR does dictate a lot of the policies and procedures, but each manager is responsible for hiring. Products and services that we provide are something that is kind of after that pre-screen interview. So we were struggling, and that's why I'm so captivated by this. We were struggling, with the concept that I was suggesting, hey, conduct a quick phone pre-screen interview, determine whether or not the individual comes across as someone that you would like to take to the next level. If so, then you can administer our assessment and then follow up with an in-person interview based on those results and so on and so forth as they're meeting all the criteria. And we always, operate from a past, present, and future, past being the skills experience that an individual brings, the present is the interview, and then, of course, the future is what we're trying to do in the assessment where I was predict that. Flipping back, they were challenged with, we just don't know if we have the time and energy to conduct all of these phone interviews. And so when I was diving into our interview today, I was like, wow, this could be right in line because it's quick, it's personable. A manager could log on, multitask, right? I mean, you could be multitasking, right?
Absolutely. I think one of the reasons why I think we've gotten so much uptake is that, beyond it having experiential benefit, right? If you think about the recruiter's day, think about it as an inventory problem, and their inventory is time. And in the best case scenario, they might be able to get 4 to 6 phone screens scheduled in a day. And that's what our research told us. We had a third party go out and do some research with recruiters prior to launching the product, and that's really just validating what we already know, right? Having run talent organizations before. But what I can tell you is, imagine a world now where instead of being constrained by 4 or 6 touch points with candidates in a day, you're doing 40 to 60 in a day. That's where it's really transformational. And all of our companies, they still believe in the live human touch, and we're still moving people to live interviews or panel interviews, but by gosh, is it just a better way to scale that top of the funnel, making sure the right people are getting to the right opportunities? That's where it certainly works like magic.
When we're talking about interviewing and text-based interviewing, what I'm interested about, and I saw in a lot of your materials, you're talking about brand promotion. I mean, you're not doing that over the phone, right? You're not being able to promote your brand over the phone. So what are we doing in text message recruit branding? I mean, that's a whole nother arena, and I am fired up to hear more about that.
Yeah. We're when you looked at kind of when we launched and the few things that we mentioned, certainly scalability and getting to know candidates top of the funnel, but also an opportunity to showcase the company. So imagine, we're in a text exchange, and I now have the opportunity to send you an employment branding video or a sell sheet about why it's such a great place to work, or our benefits information, kind of all right there, instantly transported to that candidate's mobile phone, and getting an opportunity to bring your assets from an employment branding perspective, new life, right? So instead of it sitting there dormant on a website where you're just hoping somebody stumbles upon it, this wonderful video that you've made, actually that sent to that candidate right at the right time, and to really pull that candidate in and continue that engagement through the funnel. And so that's where and we store that information in the system, and it's all just a one button push away.
Wow.
And I think we're super excited about the impact that's happening. We're big believers that I think recruiters really need to start thinking like marketers, right? I mean, it's really super important, and to the degree that we can enable that type of engagement, because text interviewing is that's the most innovative thing you can do with our product, and it's just got so many other kind of subtle benefits, right? Like getting employment branding information to that candidate at the right time, and making sure it gets seen. I mean, if a friend of yours sent you an article, John,
right,
said, "Hey, interesting article, take a read," and they sent it to your email, or they sent it to they texted it to you, there's just no question in my mind which one you're going to read first.
Yeah, right. When we're talking about the branding piece, which is a phenomenal ad, and I think it's such a strong piece of what we can do with the program. One thing that we've been working on from our perspective in the assessment solutions industry is making the candidate experience a lot better. Okay, just we're really conscious about, in the past we would sit an individual down and bombard them with endless questions and hours of assessment and really breaking it down. And sometimes we would present candidates with questions and information that was way overwhelming or it's too simplistic. So the candidate experience was just blah. We've now added in what's a new technology called adaptive assessment technology, which is really changing the industry. And it's a phenomenal process. So it really adapts to the candidate. I also remember, and you and I had this discussion earlier in our pre-interview talk, and that is, you mentioned and said that it's not normal just to have a 30-minute conversation with a total stranger. And, and it's just not. And when you think about it, and look, we're talking about it, not intimate conversation, but an in-depth conversation about who you are and what you've done in your life. And that's just kind of weird. And, and the stress, okay, because when you get that call, it's a pre-screen, right? I mean, if you're a candidate and you don't know that first call is to screen you out or in, then you're not aware of what's going on, right? So wow, what a opportunity for making the candidate experience better, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think this is so fundamental, John, to I think there's two ways to look at what we're doing, no doubt about it. It's either, my goodness, Canvas is weird, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or it's, my goodness, talking to a stranger and having an awkward conversation is weird, right? Like, I think it's what you're either on one side of this coin or the other.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at how communication norms have shifted, I honestly think it's very hard to identify any other place on the planet where an awkward conversation like this is still happening. Imagine the dating world, okay? John, imagine if Match and Bumble and these apps worked where you scheduled phone screens with the people that you might be interested in being a life partner for you.
No one would ever hook up. It would never happen.
It's super awkward, and B, to put my business hat on, it doesn't scale very well, right?
Yeah, right.
Yet the process is good enough to find our life partner. I think it's absurd to believe that you couldn't get to know a candidate via text or chat, prior to making a decision of moving them through those gates to employment. And just like you wouldn't, marry someone, I think, via Bumble without having a live date or two, the same holds true in the talent game. But I actually think what we're going to find is that the way we've done it has actually been the weird way of doing it. And this new approach is actually a better experience for both the recruiter and the candidate. And I think it's going to be a world where we remember the way we used to do it, and we're going to remember, kind of the new way of thinking about these opportunities.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's heading down the right path. And I know there's going to be some naysayers out there, and we have to talk about those folks, oh, it's taking out them personal, it's not personable, and it's not this and it's not that. Hello. I mean, I know you text Merry Christmas and information to your family and your friends, and you give them, sympathy greetings over text message when they lost a loved one. And that's very personal. It's very intimate. It's very connected. So this can be connected. It can be. And I think that you'll have some naysayers come out and say, well, you lost the personal contact. I disagree. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think that it's highly personal.
I think it's all, I think that's honestly, I think it's a very unsophisticated way to understand what personal contact means, right? So I think, there are right now in this second, there are thousands of husbands and wives and partners and children and parents and loved ones and friends and coworkers right in this instant, all communicating without a telephone, right? And I think arguing that those are impersonal touch points, is and not a fair assessment of the world. And it's not a fair assessment of how this next generation of talent views technology. There's one other thing, John, or views texting, I should say.
Right.
The thing I want to bring up, too, that I think can be lost as far as a benefit to thinking about utilizing a Canvas is, it's very easy to say, hey, great, millennial, Gen Z, this makes so much sense. But I think the part that we're really interested in is the democratization of opportunity, right? So we're democratizing it by trying to make a dent on reducing unconscious bias. We're trying to democratize it by making it, removing the friction between a candidate and engaging. But think about this scenario, right? And these are real life scenarios. We've had, folks that are that have written in saying, gosh, thanks so much. I literally, this is going to change my life because they're hard of hearing, right?
Right.
And those moments that we've had people write from rural parts of the Midwest where they're in manufacturing employment, and they go, think about their world, right? They've got a phone, but they don't have broadband at home. They don't have a laptop at home. They've got to go to the library to search and seek for new opportunity. And the fact that someone was able to get a promotional opportunity where that engagement started through a text-based discussion where they actually could have it during their breaks in a manufacturing facility, like these are the game changer opportunities that just get us so jazzed up every day about democratizing and reducing the friction involved with getting candidates and companies engaged, so that the impact of what we're trying to do is a lot bigger than the buzzword of how do we communicate with millennials or Gen Z. It really, I think, changes the game in so many different ways.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to shift gears for a moment. Okay, so you sold me, right? I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, I'm interested. I like what I'm hearing. And of course, we'll have a complete page on our website that's going to have all of Aman's information, links to the site, his business, his contact information, and ways to get in touch. So, guys, you'll find that there as always. And, of course, the podcast will be up on all major distribution from iTunes to, you name it, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. With that, so I'm interested. I reach out. How do we get started? I mean, take me through the process. What's the startup like? How do I get engaged? What's the platform like? I'm assuming it's cloud-based. I'm assuming I have login credentials. I'm assuming a lot of things, but I don't want to assume. I want to know. So I reach out and I call up and I call Canvas up or email or text message Canvas. I'm sure I can, and say, hey, I'm interested. Where do we go?
Yeah. So what we'd first do is get you exposure to the product with a demo, and it's a great way to kind of understand and see the product firsthand. As far as the product, it's beautiful. Our NPS is through the roof. We've really carefully thought through, the design and user experience for recruiters. Recruiters can work certainly both, on their laptop through our cloud-based software, but they can also engage with candidates on the go through iPhone, iPad, and Android apps. And obviously all that information syncs just as you would imagine it does.
Right.
But it's a rich experience with just, so many little power tools built into it to make the recruiter's life easier. And that's really what we've been focused on. So essentially after the demo, when we move to a purchase, we basically go through we provision the software, which is very, very quick, and then we do a training session with our new recruiters that we're onboarding. That's led by Kelly Lavin, our Chief Talent Officer. She led the talent function at our last company, and so what I really love about this is it's a true talent professional that's engaged with the recruiters and HR leaders every day,
right?
Helping them make the most of our technology. And then, really, if we're any group of 10 recruiters that we train, I mean, the three of them have sent 100 messages before we left the building, and three in the middle are like, oh, this is really cool. And then there's always a couple that are like, Ahmad, I think I want to punch you in the face. This feels so awkward to me, right?
Yeah, right.
And we work with them. We work with each one in a different way. So let's take that group where, gosh, the whole notion of texting might feel a little uncomfortable. The way we'll approach that, John, is we'll say, listen, here's a great way to get started. Is there any reason why, let's say you've been talking to a candidate and you know that they're coming in for an interview with the hiring manager next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Any reason why you wouldn't pre-schedule a note right now to be sent to them at 7:30 in the morning, wishing them a great day with a link to the map of your campus so they don't even have to worry about pulling up directions? Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to do that, right?
Absolutely not. What a great feature. That's what I'm talking about.
Or like now you know that they're starting and it's day one, and you know their start date is February 6th. Why wouldn't you schedule a note right now to go out to that candidate that morning wishing them a great first day? And so it's just those things, and those are hard to argue with. So no matter where you are on your kind of
feel good about texting, right?
Yes, we can get you there, and we've got a plan for almost every persona and personality type with regard to their comfort level. Right. And we really want to meet the recruiters where they are with their comfort level, right? We're going to have everything from, trust me, we've got recruiters sending thousands of messages to the candidates, those that we're working with on these use cases. And we're real committed to getting each and every recruiter.
Let's say you have an organization with like 20 recruiters. You have a corporate account, I would imagine, and then it's seats per recruiter. And each recruiter can have their own logo and credentials and their silo of information, which feeds up to the corporate account. Is that how we're structured?
Yep. And we can do, other things like, our background in deep enterprise IT. So we've got single sign-on features and all kinds of stuff. So we can make that experience as seamless as it needs to be inside of that enterprise IT infrastructure.
So it's highly configurable is what you're saying. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great. What type of organization? I mean, can this work for a small organization, or are we only talking about, IBMs and Microsofts?
No. Cool. Look, we love the fact that we've got great clients like, Aperio and Roche and OpenTable, but we've got, 3-4 person staffing firms in LA and other places that are just in love with what we're doing. And, our mission is to enable recruiters. And I can tell you that we're super happy, working with recruiters at any type of company. And we really have every flavor of company inside of our portfolio right now. And from our perspective and a service perspective, we don't care if they're at a Fortune 500 or they're building their latest startup. We want to help them engage with talent.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I want to take a moment and thank you, Aman, for introducing the audience, HR Hire Up, to the new frontier of recruiting, which is text-based recruiting and the platforms that go along with it, and that's delivered by Aman's organization, which is Canvas. And Aman, go ahead and give everyone your website address, and if you want to throw out your 800 number or whatever you have. And so that way, of course, it'll be posted on the site, but just for the audio version and folks driving and working out, they can get that information. So how do we reach out to you?
Yeah, I think the best way to learn more about us is to head over to www.gocanvas.io. So that's gocanvas.io. And the rest will take you from there. And so there's a request a demo button in multiple places, and you'll be put in contact with one of us, and we'll reach out immediately to tell you more.
Well, I tell you what, I'm impressed, and I think that this is something that we are going to probably look discussing more with you and employing at least the service in our own organization, and certainly as an opportunity, as I'm always trying to add value and offer great technology to our clients. In the organizations we work with, I think that this is a home run. So, anything in closing that you want to throw out there? Any information that you have or you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
No, just wishing everybody a wonderful 2018. And, I kind of being a new entrant to HR specifically, I can tell you, it's been a real pleasure just getting to engage with the ecosystem and HR leaders and recruiters, across the country. So just many thanks to everyone out there.
All right. Well, look, thank you so much, Ahmad. And there you have it, folks. Text-based interviewing, which I do believe is the new frontier of recruiting. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. We know at Higher Up that you do have a choice, and we appreciate you selecting us. In fact, we just received information that we were named in one of the top 10 human resource podcasts on iTunes for 2017 and projected to be up there in 18. So we're really excited about that. Thank you for following with us. And there we have it. Y'all, everyone have a wonderful week. And again, following Ahmad's lead there, a great 2018. This is our first podcast of 2018. So we're really excited to kick it off with Ahmad there and the Campus Group. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Higher Up with John Beck.
For show notes, updates, and more on how to break the code to unlocking occupational DNA,
Join the community at hrhigherup.com.
and take your business to a higher level. This has been an exclusive production of SharperTalkMedia.com. Join the community.